Have you ever lied to Mr. Damiano?
Yes.
And can you list for me the times that you lied to him?
Many times, not many times, but on those occasions when he would ask me, could I pass on something to Mr. Dillon? I may have said to him, I'll try and pass it along, or words to that effect.
Do you recall ever giving Mr. Damiano your fax number?
Yes.
And when Mr. Dillon, how do you reach him?
I phone him.
At his home?
If he's in Los Angeles, yes. If he's on the road, I try and locate him that way.
You state at the top of the page, or at least it appears to that you state, my job here is to pass along information to Bob. Do you recall saying that, sir? Looking
yes.
at the top. Okay. And Bob, of course, is Bob Dylan?
Yes.
And then you say, which I think I have. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay. When you said that to Mr. Damiano, which I think I have, were you lying to him?
I was misstating the truth. Under the subject of mistruths spoken to your client, during the course of these telephone conversations, he would frequently ask me to pass along information, ask questions about Bob, or to Bob about him. Not many times, but on those occasions when he would ask me, could I pass on something to Mr. Dillon? I may have said to him, I'll try and pass it along, or words to that effect.
My job here is to pass along information to Bob. Do you recall saying that, sir? Looking
yes.
at the top. Okay. And Bob, of course, is Bob Dylan?
Yes.
And then you say, which I think I have. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay. When you said that to Mr. Damiano,
this is a videotape deposition of Elliot Mintz in the matter of Damiano versus Sony Music and Bob Dylan. Counsel, please introduce yourselves and state your appearances.
Stephen Kramer for the plaintiff.
Orrin Snyder, and soon to be joined by Stephen Hayes for Sony Music Entertainment and Bob Dylan.
What is your profession, sir?
I'm a media consultant.
And how long have you been in that profession?
Since approximately, give or take, since 1975, 76. 20 years.
And how long has Mr. Dillon been your client, sir?
Since, I believe, October of 1986, approximately 10 years.
You've spoken with Mr. Damiano?
I have.
Okay. Have you ever lied to Mr. Damiano?
Yes.
And can you list for me the times that you lied to him?
First of all of my conversations with Mr. Damiano were telephonic. To the best of my knowledge, I've never met him. Many times, not many times, but on those occasions when he would ask me, could I pass on something to Mr. Dillon? may have said to him, "I'll try and pass it along," 4 words to that effect.
He just grabbed it out of his hand and started to read the song for him. And he was very impressed by the song. At least he seemed that way. And he said, "Oh yeah, that's very good." He loves it, and he will make sure he swore to us.
When you say swore to us, did he use those words? I swear to you.
Oh, he promised. He promised us.
Mm-hmm. And did you?
I was totally convinced that he was going to give the songs to Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to the Jones Beach concert, if we may, to the time when you offered the tickets to Mr. Damiano before the concert actually took place. Okay. During that point in time when you offered the tickets to him and before he actually went to the concert, did you ever say to him or suggest to him that maybe he should bring some of his songs with him?
No, I did not.
Do you deny saying that, or is it that you just don't recall one way or the other?
I deny suggesting to Jim that he bring songs along with him. I did, however, concur with him when he asked me, "Do you think I should bring my songs with me?" I said, "Sure, why not? What could it hurt?"
More questions. Okay. So we can end the inconvenience for you. You said you met Mikey Harris through her son Duke.
No, I met Mikey Harris first at Tony Tiller's house at a party. That's when I met. No, I met Mikey Harris first at Tony Tiller's house at a party. That's when I met Mikey Harris.
Hello?
Mikey?
Yes.
Hi. How you doing?
Jim, how are you?
Things have been really happening. I want to get you the book, but it's just been so crazy.
That's okay.
You know Frank Rand from Epic Records?
I remember him, sure. Long time ago.
Let me ask you a question. Would you work with me as an artist if I was working with Frank Rand? And
what's he doing now?
He's working with a record company. He's working with the heck's the name of the record company? It's WEA, WEA, but it was WEA, right?
Right.
Warner Electric and Atlantic. And he's working with, did you ever hear of Eric Burden?
Pardon me?
Eric Burden and the Animals?
Yeah, a long time ago, yes.
Yeah, he's working, he just got done doing a project with Eric Burden, and I have a chance. Now, you know I'm a very easy artist to work with, right? I'm not hard to work with, right?
Well, I don't remember you being difficult to work with.
Jim handed the book, started to hand the book to him, and then someone else came over and took the lyric, whether it was a book or an envelope with the lyrics in it, took this package and walked towards the bus along with the other people, and they all got onto the bus, the door closed, and the bus drove away.
Sir, I want to turn now to this meeting that you said happened with Mr. Tiller. Do you remember when that occurred? Your statement says July of '87. Is that about when it happened?
Yeah, I believe so. For Anthony to come out, we sat there for a while. Jim had his lyrics books with him, one big thick book, and we were just sitting there for a while. Then Anthony came out. I remember him being in a suit, good-looking, like black man, gentleman, and he took us inside. Yes, and we went to his office, And we just sat down. It was like a big chair, one of these, looked like a recliner kind of chair, but it was just a big chair that I was sitting in. And they were acting like they were good friends. I mean, talking, hugging, you know. And they read some of the lyrics. He had Jim's book in his desk, and he was reading through it. Jim was pointing out certain lyrics to him, and they were talking and talking. Then we got into the conversation about recording this my cousin's Joanne tape, and I just wanted to get some feedback from Anthony, based on his position in this company, what he believes that anything could happen with this if we produce it. And the feedback I got is absolutely yes. That we got into the bottom. Does he read? Is he getting James Damiano's lyrics? And I remember the answer, yes. He's been reading his lyrics, and I even remember recalling Anthony bringing up Bruce Springsteen's name. And that was just like from nowhere. I never heard that before, but it just came up that Jim's lyrics was also given to Bruce Springsteen, which I knew who that was. And I remember leaving this meeting with a very good feeling. Okay, I was convinced by Anthony if I produce this record, if I pay for it, that it could end up being a very big hit.
Okay, sir. And that's basically what happened at the meeting?
That's basically it. I left there with very good vibes.
And if you could tell us what the office looked like in a little more detail. Were there records on the wall?
There were records in the lobby. I know that. Mm-hmm. There were a bunch of records in the lobby. I was only in that building that one.
Can you list for me, sir, what other songwriters, other than Mr. Damiano, whose material you had on any shelf in your office while employed either by CBS or Sony?
Songwriters. Do the Gershwins count?
Appreciation, anything.
Tokens of appreciation.
Or gifts, anything that you can think of.
None that I can recall, but if I did it as a friend to a friend, because I considered Jim a very good friend. And I occasionally give my friends things as my friends give me things.
Okay. And do you recall, let me try to refresh your recollection, if I may.
I deny suggesting to Jim that he bring songs along with him. I did, however, concur with him when he asked me, do you think I should bring my songs with me? I said, sure, why not? What could it hurt?
Most people walking around today have absolutely no idea what's really going on behind the headlines. For decades, the pathway to public opinion was controlled by a handful of gatekeepers: major newspapers, television networks, established magazines. If you wanted to reach millions of people with your message, you had to go through them, and they decided what was newsworthy, what was credible, what deserved attention, and what deserved to be ignored. That gave them extraordinary power, not just to inform, but to shape, to decide which stories lived and which stories died, to determine what questions got asked and what questions never even entered the conversation, except now they couldn't, not completely.
Call that. Can I object? And was this something that was turned over to us, a transcript that you're reading from?
It's not a tape, Mr. Snyder.
Was it a note of a conversation that your client gave to you?
Yes.
Deposition's over. We're leaving. We're leaving. Let's go. We're leaving.
Cover my notes.
The client's been turning over documents late.
Mr. Snyder, we just found out documents were destroyed. So please, get off your high horse. Get off your high horse, please.
Before the lawsuit was filed, thank you. Blank pieces of paper.
Not blank pieces of paper. Documents that he's contending were illegible.
At 75, a cultural critic's words reverberate like a thunderclap in the quiet sanctum of Bob Dylan's untouchable legacy. Long celebrated as the voice of his generation, Dylan is now cast in a stark, unflattering light. Accusations of plagiarism and deception are nothing new to the legendary songwriter, but recent claims add a darker hue to the portrait of a man whose words once defined rebellion and freedom. Think of this, a folk hero revered for his lyrical genius, now accused of being a cunning recycler of other people's work. The allegations have rekindled an old debate, and with new examples surfacing, they strike at the very core of Dylan's authenticity. Back in 2010, Joni Mitchell, one of the most respected voices of her generation, shattered the unspoken reverence surrounding Bob Dylan. With the blunt force of her words, she called him out as a plagiarist and a fake. It was a statement that hit like a thunderclap, a grenade hurled into a room packed with Dylan loyalists. The music world froze, stunned by the audacity of one genius to call another an imposter. And yet the shockwaves quickly dissipated. Critics and fans alike brushed off Mitchell's comments, framing them as the bitter rant of a rival. Think of this: Mitchell, the woman who wrote some of the most introspective and honest music of the 20th century, warned us that Dylan's celebrated authenticity was nothing more than an elaborate illusion. But her voice was drowned out in the cacophony of adoration for a man seen as untouchable. At the time, her words were dismissed, an inconvenient truth too uncomfortable to confront. Now, with mounting evidence, Mitchell's comments take on an eerie prescience, like the warning of a prophet no one wanted to believe. Mitchell's critique went deeper than lyrics. She didn't just accuse Dylan of borrowing melodies or lifting phrases. She claimed his entire identity was built on borrowed pieces. "He's not authentic at all," she declared, suggesting that even his enigmatic mystique, the very thing that made him an icon, was stitched together from the personas of others. Picture this: the man who sold us an image of a wandering troubadour, the ultimate individualist, secretly piecing together his identity like a collage from the scraps of other artists' lives. Mitchell's accusation wasn't just about plagiarism, it was about deception on a much larger scale. To her, Dylan wasn't just borrowing tunes, he was borrowing the very essence of what made him legendary. She described his mystique as a construct, a carefully curated facade designed to dazzle audiences and conceal the patchwork of borrowed ideas underneath. And yet, the world turned a blind eye. How could a man who spoke so eloquently about truth and freedom possibly be a fraud? It was a question no one wanted to ask. Mitchell's accusations landed with the force of a betrayal, but they also carried a note of inevitability. She spoke of Dylan with the frustration of someone who had seen the truth long before others dared to. To her, his rise was not a story of unfiltered genius but a tale of strategic manipulation, a calculated ascension built on the uncredited work of others. Think of her words as a warning: the cracks in Dylan's pedestal were always there, invisible to those too entranced to look closely. Mitchell saw what the rest of us refused: to an artist whose brilliance was not entirely his own. And yet her warnings went unheeded. The cultural machine continued to elevate Dylan to near mythic status, turning a blind eye to the mounting evidence. The irony is bitter. Mitchell, a woman celebrated for her ability to see and articulate emotional truths, found her own truths dismissed when they threatened the legacy of a man the world wasn't ready to question. Today, Mitchell's words are more than a critique, they're a challenge to everything we thought we knew about Bob Dylan. The very idea of him as a lone genius, a singular voice crying out against the establishment, is now under scrutiny. Was he a prophet, or just a plagiarist with impeccable timing? Joni Mitchell, often overshadowed by Dylan in conversations about 20th century songwriting, has emerged as a crucial voice in this reckoning. Her critique forces us to confront uncomfortable questions: how much of Dylan's legacy is truly his? How many others, forgotten or ignored, contributed to the empire he built? It's a dramatic turn of events, one that paints Mitchell not as a bitter rival but as a Cassandra, a truth-teller cursed to be ignored until it's too late. As the cracks in Dylan's reputation grow deeper, her words echo louder, demanding attention. In the court of public opinion, it seems the case against Dylan is far from closed, and Mitchell, at last, is being heard. One of Dylan's more glaring controversies surrounds his 2006 song Rollin' and Tumblin' from Modern Times. The track's melody is nearly identical to a 1929 blues tune by Hambone Willie Newburn. The similarity is undeniable, and the only difference seems to be the omission of credit to the original creator. This isn't an isolated case. Albums like Love and Theft, ironically named, contain lyrics and themes eerily similar to obscure literary works, such as those by Japanese author Junichi Saga. Dylan has brushed off these accusations as homage, but critics argue it's theft disguised under the cloak of admiration. The anthem that defined a generation, Blowin In The Wind, has its roots in the African-American spiritual No More Auction Block. The melody is hauntingly similar, yet Dylan's name appears as the sole creator. Critics point out the bitter irony: a song that championed equality and freedom may owe its success to an uncredited cultural heritage. It's a poignant example of how Dylan's greatest works often draw from sources whose contributions go unnoticed, raising questions about integrity in the art of songwriting. Early in his career, Dylan recorded House of the Rising Sun for his 1962 debut album. The song is a traditional folk tune, but Dylan's version bears a striking resemblance to Dave Van Ronk's arrangement. Van Ronk, a contemporary of Dylan in the Greenwich Village folk scene, later revealed his surprise and frustration when he learned Dylan had recorded the song without consulting him. This was no accident. Van Ronk had been performing his version for years, and Dylan, by including it on his album, effectively took ownership of the arrangement. For a young artist just starting out, it was a calculated move, but one that left Van Ronk feeling betrayed. The bittersweet breakup song It Ain't Me, Babe, is widely regarded as one of Dylan's most poignant works. But some have pointed out its similarities to the themes and tone of Italian poet Cesare Pavese. Pavese's works explore rejection, solitude, and emotional detachment, concepts mirrored in Dylan's lyrics. While it's not unusual for songwriters to draw inspiration from poetry, Dylan's critics argue that his use of such material often blurs the line between influence and appropriation. The fact that no acknowledgement was given only deepens the controversy. The accusations against Dylan extend beyond his songs. His personal life has been marked by betrayal and opportunism, critics allege. Joan Baez, the folk icon who championed Dylan's career in its early days, was cast aside when her influence was no longer needed. Even Dylan's celebrated album Blood on the Tracks has come under scrutiny. Critics argue that songs like Tangled Up in Blue borrow narrative elements from the works of F. Scott Fitzgerald and Anton Chekhov. While Dylan has admitted to drawing inspiration from literature, the line between homage and plagiarism is once again called into question. When Bob Dylan was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2016, it was seen as a revolutionary moment for music. For his fans, it was long overdue recognition of his lyrical genius. For critics, it was a stunning affront to traditional literary icons, especially when accusations surfaced that Dylan had borrowed passages from Herman Melville's Moby Dick in his acceptance speech without proper attribution. Think of this: a man celebrated for originality accepting the world's most prestigious literary honor only to be accused of plagiarism in the same breath. For many, it was proof of the very allegations that had haunted Dylan for decades, a career rooted in appropriation, disguised as artistry. Dylan's reaction to the honor only deepened the controversy. For weeks, he ignored the Nobel Committee's attempts to contact him, leaving the world to wonder if his silence was an act of defiance or simple apathy. When he finally acknowledged the award, his response was cool and distant, calling it amazing yet hard to believe. Critics saw this as another insult, a casual dismissal of a prize meant to cement his legacy. Was he too humble to care or too arrogant to bother? When Dylan skipped the Nobel ceremony, he sent Patti Smith to perform in his place. During her rendition of A Hard Rain's A-Gonna Fall, she stumbled, forgetting the lyrics mid-song. While her vulnerability moved some, others saw the moment as emblematic of the entire controversy: a borrowed performer faltering in a borrowed moment. For his defenders, the Nobel controversy was overblown, a misunderstanding of Dylan's artistic style. They argue that his genius lies in weaving influences into something greater. For his detractors, it was the culmination of a career built on appropriation. The prize, meant to crown his legacy, instead reignited debates about his authenticity. How can a man accused of plagiarism be celebrated for originality? For his critics, it wasn't just irony, it was poetic justice. The Nobel Prize, once a crowning achievement, now stands as a symbol of the contradictions that have always defined Bob Dylan, a man lauded as a genius, yet shadowed by accusations of theft. For fans, these revelations are not just disappointing, they're devastating. Dylan's songs were more than music, they were anthems for a generation seeking truth in a chaotic world. To learn that some of those truths may have been borrowed or outright stolen is a betrayal that cuts deep. Picture this, the voice of a generation, now silenced by accusations that cast a long shadow over his legacy. The man who once stood as a beacon of authenticity is now seen by some as the ultimate fraud. For Dylan's defenders, his genius lies in his ability to synthesize influences into something greater than the sum of its parts. For his critics, it's a career built on deception. Whichever side you choose, one thing is clear: Bob Dylan's legacy, once untouchable, now stands on shaky ground. The reckoning has begun, and it's a storm that shows no sign of passing.